Hello, welcome to another chess video. And in this video, I'm actually going to talk about a chess variant in the variant server via here, or as I have it in my settings, I have it over here as well. This is called atomic chess. And basically, what this variant is if a capture occurs, both the capturing piece and the captured piece explode. And on top of that, any non-pawn piece in a 1 square radius also explodes. It doesn't matter if it's a white piece or a black piece or whoever is capturing that piece or whatever is capturing that piece, they all die. This pawn is a pawn, so it is safe. However, as you notice, the pawn went missing, and that pawn went missing because they were captured. Another thing is, once the pawns are captured themselves, or if they capture, that's when they explode. Now, interestingly, the explosion includes kings, so that's just mate. And black would win the game by king capture. So, I am going to teach you the rules of atomic and a couple principles as one of the better players on chess.com. And actually recently reaching number 2 in Atomic Rapid. Albeit I grinded off of 1500s, but we'll ignore that. Okay. So, obviously you just saw, if the king is ever captured, you lose. And and believe it or not, checks take less priority over capturing kings. So despite this being a check, the queen capturing the king is so much faster, and that's a win. So, like, for example, let me try to think of this in like a sort of fashion. Like this. Kings can't capture in this variant because if the king did try, it would explode. But the move bishop takes d2 here is forced and wins the game for black. So that's a neat thing about atomic, is that you have to be careful. Another incredibly funny thing is, kings can touch on this variant. And actually, it's very hard to get a king capture in this position unless, like, the king is only next to a thing that's capturable, like this. This also now means that every single piece has value. Now, in regular chess, you'll understand that queen's the most powerful piece, right? Queen's the most powerful piece in the game of regular chess, because she can go, like, literally anywhere. Well, not that, but she can go anywhere. Yeah, not in this variant. The queen can actually technically be sacrificed for a certain amount of pieces and still be better for the non-queen player. So an example line here that I know off of the top of my head is something like this. White is actually +1 here, despite losing a queen for a pawn, knight, and a rook, which is not going to be common in any other variant except for, like, giveaway or something. And basically, this pawn is an asset. So, as I flip the board here, so if something like this, you can't take this because this pawn would explode and this would be mate. So one thing that could probably be played here is like h4, this, d4, and e5, h5. And basically speaking, if you were to ever take this pawn and open up the rook, this actually wins on the spot. Because if you move the king here or here, this happens. And if you move the king here, this happens. And anywhere you move the king, this is a very common rook mate, the king will always be next to this, and you can literally pre-move this. So that's an interesting line. So now for principles. Number 1, open lines. That is probably one of the most important things. Actually, number 1 is address your opponent's threats first. So for example, with the white pieces, one of the best moves is knight f3. Knight f3 is one of the best moves because you have all of this and all of this. And if your opponent were to do nothing, this wins because it's a fork. It is a toque, rather, where the opponent cannot stop both of these captures at the exact same time. If one pawn moves, you take the other. And so after knight f3, there are actually only 3 moves in this position that prevent mate for white. Those being f6, e5, and d6. Those are the only 3 moves that you need to study against if you play the first move, knight f3. I don't. I play e3 in this position, which actually is also very powerful and has quite a lot of unique ideas. So knight f3, the top computer move here is actually to move the f-pawn, which is not what you would likely see in normal chess, but it stops knight e5, and it stops knight g5. Also, if you notice, these things are different colors, like this is yellow, this is green. I just did that with this, and like all of this type of things. This is not the default, so you can like change this as you please. You can see all of that is possible in the variants tab, variants server, whatever. So after f6, there are a multitude of moves. Like knight c3, you can play e3, you can play e4, d4. There's knight d4, threatening both this and this. And the only good move is knight h6, after which you play g4, or even e3. This is one of the moves to allow this and keep your queen open. Because if this, and again, kings can't capture, but if this, then white just immediately wins on the spot. And you'll see that this is possible. So you can't go here because of that, but you can go here, and you win. Also, technically speaking, white, because of the extra tempo that they have in king captures, actually starts off with a +3, +4 advantage in the starting position. That does not mean that white immediately wins, though, because, well, there's elos, and black actually has a couple moves a couple tricks up their sleeve as well. For example, knight f3, f6, knight d4, knight h6. You wonder why I played g4? Because if g4, there's this, and the knight would also explode. Because if you try to continue your threats with knight b5, to try to go here, and explode every single piece that black has, you're too slow. This is a king capture, this is only a queen. And after this, the queen is trapped, the king can't take, and so even if check, for example, this is it. And so after knight f3, f6, knight g4, knight h6, top computer moves are commonly going to be this or this. After g4, now this is actually a threat because this is not possible anymore. So the top computer move here for black is actually to play the move b5, fully preventing knight to b5, after which there's like some e3 lines and the game goes on. Another move that white can play here is knight c3, trying to, since they can't get in here or here, they're going to try to get in over here and try to take your king and or your queen. You can still play the move knight h6. And I am not even going to joke here. Like, just about every single person that I've played that is below, like, the level of 1700 plays this. And at this perspective, you'll think, oh, I am attacking the king, I'm attacking the queen, this has to be winning. When in fact, it's actually -10 for black. Or is it -3? I forget. But it is very bad. And the point is, after e6, you can take this. This and this is pre-movable. Well, not this, because actually, if g4, knight g4, this is actually possible because there's no threat. And you might wonder, well, why not e5, knight c7, knight g4? That was actually a question I had myself until I checked it over with the engine. And actually, the engine applies this as +11 for white after the move g4. The queen still cannot escape. This is no longer a threat because the knight again dies. And if this, I have this. And wherever the king moves, I can pre-move this, because if the queen takes, it's already nullified. And I'm just going to attack this, this, and this. And everything explodes, including the king. Now, for the white pieces, top computer move is g4. g4 prevents knight g4 immediately, because if you take this and try to win the pawn, you're going to lose. This is now a good threat because this and this is a threat, and black has no counterplay. So the best move for black here is now to address this threat. Now, that's not to say that this in itself is a bad move either. In fact, it's a pretty good one. I just prefer this due to the fact that it can bait the opponent into doing traps like this. But after c6, you know, it's not so bad. But there's actually a line here for the white pieces, which is actually to play knight d5 anyway. And the point is, the knight for the pawn is actually quite good due to the open diagonal here. And another fact, this pawn used to cover this square. There's no pawn to cover this square anymore. And so if you do absolutely nothing, there is actually the move knight e5, sacrificing another knight. If you take this knight, either like this or like this, doesn't even matter. There's queen h5, g6 is forced, queen d5. And white just wins. Another common move for white is, in my opinion, one of the most annoying ways to play, but it is a way, and that is the move e3. This is what is known in atomic chess as the jester opening. The jester is essentially, before I learned it was called the jester, I called it the atomic London, due to how easy it is to win with the white pieces in a practical scale. Because if nothing is done, knight e5, if this, then this. And obviously it takes queen h5, queen d5, and this. So the top computer move here is d5, after which you still can sack your knight on g5. And actually, despite these two seemingly lead to the same line, despite these two sacrifices seemingly leading to the same line, both of them could have that, but this is actually worse than this. Both of them are technically, this is +3, this is plus 1.5. The problem with this move is now there is bishop to g4. And the point is, the material is actually going to be completely equal. And something like this, queen f3, knight f6, maybe some sort of queen g3, knight e4, attacks this and this. It's tricky. It's a tricky position to play with the white pieces after bishop g4. And actually, I'm not even showing all of the best lines in that. The problem is after this, there's actually this, and your best move is actually to take this, lose the bishop, and another extra move. And despite being a pawn down, it's still +3 because, you know, white just has quite a lot of moves that they can play. Alright. Knight f3 is what you learn at the beginner level. Let's take a look at e3. This is the move that I play myself. And the point is, it opens up the queen, opens up the bishop, this is still possible, and there are only 7 moves. 7 out of the 20 legal moves for black that actually don't blunder checkmate instantly. And out of those 7 moves, only 1 is actually playable in engine terms. There is actually one of those other 6 moves that I didn't actually fully study against. But this is the most common way for low-rated players to lose their games. Knight c6. And if the opponent plays a6, a5, b6, b5, c5, f6, g5, h6, knight h6, and h5, g6 blunder made in a different fashion. Knight c6, knight a6. All of those moves, blunder checkmate immediately. After knight c6, queen h5. And after g6, you just immediately win. And this is here's a very interesting part about this position. 90+% of the time, despite there being two attacks, both of which seeming equally important, so many of the time I see the move d6, and I play this. So, eventually what I started doing was pre-moving this. And actually, just winning the game on the spot, saving both of our time. Alright. And so, this, all of the following moves blunder this exact mate. Now you will notice that aside from these two pawn moves and this, oh, this also blunders that mate. g6, h5, and g5. Those are technically the three moves that still blunder mate, but not in the exact same way necessarily. g5 is the most obvious, because after this, that's unstoppable. That's literally, like, you can pre-move this. And no matter what the opponent does, you win. But what about g6? Now, queen h5 is no longer a threat. Well, after the move g6, the best move is to play queen f3. And this is the point of the move pawn to e3. After the pawn moves out of the way, whether by f6 or f5, you're going to play queen to e5. This type of maneuver is why e3 is atomic chessically superior than e4. Because you threaten this and this, you win. Okay, but what about knight f6? That's the only other way to block this attack. Well, you're going to play knight h3. And this is another part of atomic chess, where actually developing a knight to the edge of the board can definitely have better prospects. In this case, it's another way of getting to the g5 square. And the problem for black is they cannot move this knight to e4 and try to do this, because this knight is pinned to the pawn, which is right next to the king. So it's effectively, the knight is pinned to the king. So, for example, there's that. And no matter what else your opponent plays, you're going to play knight g5 and knight f7. If the opponent tries to escape, like this, you actually have the move knight to e6. This can't take because it explodes the king, and you just have this. And you win. So that's a very funny line. And if g5, you're just going to take, and you're just going to go here, and that's actually a checkmate. That's a legitimate checkmate, because your opponent can't actually capture your king in this position. Alright, so instead of g5, what about h6? h6 seemingly stops knight g5. I go here anyway. And this knight is this knight's fate is intertwined with this knight if one of them gets directly captured. This is an unstoppable threat, so this has to get taken, but then queen f7. And fun fact, the exact same checkmate happens with the move h5. Queen f3, knight f6, knight h3. The only difference is, after the pawn moves, since this is occupied, we go here. And again, this e3, queen f3, queen d5 idea is coming into play. So, what are the 7 moves that don't immediately get checkmated? And in addition, what is the only move for black that doesn't have a +7 to +11 advantage? No, I'm not even joking. That is the advantage that white has from any other move, aside from the top computer move, which is not to play the move c6. Okay, c6 is probably the worst out of the bunch because of queen h5 and queen e5. This is forced, otherwise you can pre-move this, and queen c7. This is a threat. If the pawn moves, that's a threat. So you have to take this and forcefully lose all of your pieces. And it's white's move. And actually, it's the exact same thing with the move d5. Queen h5, g6, queen e5. And if a 1400 overreacts with king d7, you just win. Because, and in fact, you can even do this. Just absolutely smother the king with 4 different ways in regular chess that it could get captured. None of them work here, because the king is right next to it. So after g6, queen e5, if e6 you just take this, and actually, even though you are technically up a pawn more than the move pawn to c6, it is now black's move, and black can technically generate some sort of counterplay with something like this and some infiltration ideas. There's not really anything there, but you do in fact have to be a little bit careful. And the reason why I'm delaying taking this is because this actually loses for white. And that's actually one of the ways that, maybe a higher rated player who sees that a bishop's hanging so they take it can actually lose a game of atomic chess. Okay. So we just looked at c6 and we just looked at d5. What are the other moves that's not made? These following moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take a look first at f6. After the move knight f6, since queen h5 is stopped, you're going to play queen f3. This is now pinned, and it's actually the same threat. You're threatening this and this. And the top computer move is actually really weird. It's to play c6. The point is you want to get the queen out to a5, threatening this, and playing king d8. And this type of maneuver is actually really common in atomic chess. Because, and actually this is actually a very good move. Wait, no it's not. Because something like this. and you take the bishop. But the point of my thought process with this move was, this is threatened, and you're going to threaten to take this. But it's not actually a good move because of the line that I just showed you. But that's not what most opponents will play. Most of your opponents will play one of these 4 moves. Or this. In fact, let's look at this first, because this is actually a very easy checkmate. Knight h3, unstoppable knight g5, even if this, you go here, and this is pre-movable. And if g5, this is the exact same type of thing. And that's it. Alright. Let's take a look now at e5, the second worst of these 5 moves. e5 blunders made in 2 after the move queen f5. And this, again, you can pre-move this. So, despite the sheer precision necessary for atomic chess, there's so many only moves and so many, like, bad moves. You still learn. Because this is actually unstoppable. If the d-pawn moves, it's mate. And this is probably the funniest line of the bunch. If d5 or d6 is played, you're going to play bishop d3. Blocking your pawn, but having a very nasty threat. It's not necessarily going to be this. That is actually not the threat you're trying to make for yourself. The threat is, this is the most common way to fall for this trap, to play bishop g6. This is a legitimate move, and it's checkmate in 4. How? Well, this bishop cannot be taken. If it is taken with either the h-pawn or the f-pawn, it's a loss for black. On top of that, you're just threatening this. So the only way to run away from that is by playing king d7. Now you move the bishop back to f5. And actually, in the d6 line, in this position, you can actually play queen c6. And it's actually going to be bait in 2, because you take either this or this. So bishop f5. And there are quite a couple legal moves here. If the king goes forward, you're going to take this. That's obvious. If the king goes back to e8, you actually have bishop d7 mate, which is funny. And if e6, obviously, you just take. But what about this? You replace this. And very important that the queen is on f5 and not actually on g4. This is the wrong square due to the fact that f5 is a possibility. And actually, despite everything, I mean, you're completely winning, but, you know, there's still some chances for black, technically. So very important that queen f5 is the move played, with the same threats, like this, and you win the game. So, and by the way, if e6, which I just forgot about completely, like this, you can actually play the move knight h3. And these are the only 2 moves that don't immediately blunder mate. g5 is absolutely direction, by the way. G5 takes queen f6. If this, there's this, and you just capture the king. And if h6, you do this again because of this. And there is quite a lot of other moves like d6, e6, which is the top computer move. e6 is top computer move. e5. And f5 is actually a very interesting line. f5 I actually have not looked at to the fullest, which is going to be very interesting. So let's play a game. And I get the white pieces. We're playing against Lightning Anch, whatever. And look at that, they played g6. And would you look at that? They lose in just a move. Literally with one move of play, my opponent hangs a mate. And this is just a win. Like this. And yes, there are indeed decimals in ELOs. You can hover over this like that. You can take a look at the ELO directly rather than the rounded up ELO. And now we're going to play as black. So this is actually where you're probably going to learn some things that I did not actually look at over the analysis board. Knight h6, we did see this. Okay, knight f5. This is another move that can technically be played. It's only +1 though because knight takes. The point of knight f5 was to threaten this and this. Okay, my opponent tries to get in through there. I'm going to stop him. You cannot only prevent one of these. You have to prevent both in this position because you have no counter threats. Ah, my opponent moves to the edge of the board and threatens to play knight c5 and go here. I'm actually going to play the move e5 in this position, stopping this. e3 is going to be a very good move to try to play queen h5, queen h6, and this is a common checkmating pattern. Instead, d4 is played. I'm going to go pawn to d5. This bishop is absolutely it's not doing anything. e4 here would actually probably be a good move. Ah, they take. Okay. And this is an actually interesting position because I can actually use this pawn as a battering ram. This is another strategy in Atomic where and look at that, my opponent just lost the game. If takes, I have this, or even this. And if this, I have this, and this is basically unstoppable. They have to play bishop d3. And I'm threatening d2, king e2, and this. You see they play queen f3. And I'm going to go right here. They cannot take. And I'm going to promote to queen and mate. Oh, 1900. Ah, knight h3. Okay. e3, e6. Ah, they play queen h5. Okay. And now they're threatening queen c7. So I am going to block that with a pawn. If I played bishop to d6, well, I can just take that. Wait, what? What did my opponent just do? That's just a... Don't tell me they were still winning after that. Okay, b4 prevents any of this idea. now my queen's opened up. It's actually almost over for my opponent here. They have to play the move bishop c3. Because after this, that's an unstoppable threat. And you have to evaluate, like, what's an unstoppable threat. This is unstoppable because none of my opponent's pieces can actually do anything, and there's no way to block the diagonal here. In fact, I'm even going to preview this. Okay, they resigned. Yeah, Queen g7 was a very confusing move. This can technically be sacrificed for 3 pieces. However, this queen is a very important part about knight h3. That you want this queen to be opened and, you know, try to trade for better. Like queen b5 in this position, if you wanted to play this and get all of this, it would have definitely been better to play queen b5, force out c6, and take it and win a pawn in the process. That would have actually probably been better for my opponent. So let's get into another game. Oh, it's not lightning launch again. And they played e3. I'm going to go e6. And this is one of the moves that I did not talk about. Ah, queen f3. And this is actually a drawish move due to the fact that I have the move f5. Because after all this, and a queen trade on g5. Oh, that's not the move. Because now I can actually play queen h4 and forcefully win a pawn like this. Like that. And I block this. Ooh, bishop c4. Now I can actually forcefully win a pawn because I can play bishop to b4. Bishop g7 also technically works because d4 I would take it. And might have actually been better. But this is the more common way of having this position played out. And I'm going to play knight f6. And my opponent blunders. And we play each other again. See, this is one thing that you might notice when you're playing the game of Atomic. It's when, you know, you might... What is that move? What? Okay, should I play queen f6 here? Queen f6, knight e4, knight h6, knight g5, king d8, knight h7, queen f5. And I'm probably going to be winning anyways. Okay, bishop b5 is played. And I can actually sacrifice, like, wait. Okay, so I actually blundered because that was actually not a threat because of king d1. However, I can actually play the move queen d4. Sacrificing my queen in order to get... Oh, wait. Let's do this first. And basically what I did, I simplified the position, and now this is a much easier way to win. So I'm going to go knight a6 here. They're probably going to play like some sort of here. No, they played b4. Okay. Let's go d5. This was targeting that. I would play knight b4, knight a2. Okay. Let's block this. They might go bishop h6. And actually, I don't even care about this rook, because I have so many pawns that it doesn't even begin to matter. And there you go. I just want a pawn and a rook for a knight. Rook g1 attacks a very closed file. So now I can actually start pushing my pawn. This bishop is probably going to sacrifice itself at some point. Maybe I should have played c5 first. I'm going to take this rook first, actually. And this is absolutely resignable, especially at the higher level, because you only have a bishop, and I have way more pawns. In fact, I have every single pawn still on the board. Meanwhile, you only have 5 pawns left. This pawn is going to become a passer, and while you spend your time and waste it taking my rook, I'm going to push my pawn and push my pawn again. And I can pre-move this because there's no actual threat for my opponent. They can take, I'm going to go here, and actually, I just full-on win the game. Rooks are good for bullying kings. And you saw right here, this type of mate with the king in between a opposing rook and another one of his pieces is indeed a forced mate. Now let's see if my opponent has seen what I played the last 2 games against him. They did not. They played knight f6. And again, this is another type of thing. And actually, they might play d6 or d5. No, they played the top computer move. Wow. They're going to fight queen a5. Whoa. Okay. Queen e5. That's actually not a move, I don't think. Because I have this. And after king d8, I have knight to e6. And they just lose. Alright, do they play the move e6 now? Nope, they instead hang that 8. Oh, I almost wondered that. Whoa, that would have been close. Alright. Bro, you just lost to this a couple games, our literal first game. Brother. I might like delay my cue at some point, but this is just funny. Okay, I get a different person entirely anyway. 1741. Let's see what my opponent plays. Oh! Yeah, buddy, that's not gonna work. And the problem... Like, this is a 1740. How do you miss this? How? Oh, they're one of the few people that actually play the move a6, but this still wins. They want a rematch? Okay. I mean, you're probably not going to. Like, are you going to play knight d5? Please actually play the move e6. Yo, what? What is this pool? I have never seen this. Am I about to get back to 2200? I have peaked at 2300 Blitz before the Atomic Chess Championships in early March, to about 1 or 2 weeks ago. Okay. They play bishop g5. This is essentially forced. Knight c6 just pins me. There's no point. Bishop c4. I can win the pawn. But let's be a little bit principled and block everything. The bishop's probably going to go back to d3. No, actually. Queen f3 is played. I will play f5. And again, this type of thing where I can sort of trade the queens here. Is coming to play. Now I'm sure my opponent will offer a trade queens. Alright. Bishop takes d5 is not a good move. Well, bishops are more... I was about to say, well, bishops are sometimes less valuable than pawns and can sacrifice for them in some cases. That's really only in endgames. Okay, Galaxy Voyager. That's a new person I've never seen before. Then again, the rest of them have as well, so... Are you going to play g4 top computer move, or are you going to play knight d5, the absolutely terrible blunder? Oh my gosh. Yeah, but here's the problem. I can now take your knight. And you just lost that knight for absolutely no reason. And now I'm going to play d5. This is a very unique game. Like, everyone takes on c7, takes on e7, does some stupid move. Okay, what? Funny thing is, I can actually take this. There's no threat. If bishop h3, I go here, f3. Probably here. Because if takes, there's this, and I win. Let's see what my opponent does. If e6, wait. e6 might actually win. I would have to play queen e7 then. But my opponent is using up a lot of time in an only 2-second increment. Because the problem with e6, if I take this, acknowledging the threat that this is happening, no matter what, if I move my queen, for example, this, right? If I take, queen e2 just wins the game completely. So I have to play queen e7, because if e6 bishop e7, There's queen h5, g6, queen h6. I have no counter threats, and that's just mate. If king d7, then queen g7 is... Actually, king d7 is not even legal. Because of this. But my opponent does not see any of that, and they just run down the clock. Okay, so knight takes g4 was actually a mistake. I probably should have played like bishop e6 or something. But that's just atomic chess. It's that precise. You can never be too careful or too aggressive. Unless you play knight d5 on move 3. In which case, yeah, I mean, this holds absolutely no threats. Even though you're going to take my bishop and therefore my queen and knight, this is still an unstoppable threat, and I will win the game forcefully. Okay, we have a 1387 against a 2203. Alright, e5 is one of the moves that I barely talked about because of this. And actually, you cannot pre-move queen f7 here because there's bishop to b4. And actually, if I played queen f7, there is bishop takes d2 and I would lose. Queen a3 is actually an insane move. I cannot begin to explain that. Again, let's play d5. Just principled. You can't go here, because I have this. And your queen is within this 1 square radius of the capturing square. And you lose. Road to Gambit Dame. Oh, are they going to play bishop g4, please? This is going to be very funny. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, let's go. We get that sacrifice off of this video. Yes. And there's a lot of like 1400s. Yeah, like very rarely do you see like like 2200s piloting the watch pool. In fact, there's only one 2100 in this, in the entire thing. These two I do not recognize whatsoever. And they're in the rapid pool. And I'm actually number 2 in rapid. Right here. 2213, rank 2. Technically speaking, I know of 2 people that are higher rated than me in rapid, but one of them, a guy by the name of Vancouver, who is spelled like that, has been inactive for at least 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know which one it is, and they are off the leaderboard. So this is the other move, but there's still this threat, and once you don't address it, it's GG's. And you can see even my opponent castling did not save them from getting their king captured. Ah, this is a move that I did not discuss, so I didn't think it would be played. But actually, after knight c3, there was an insane line, except my opponent didn't play into it. Okay. Okay. If this, I have this. I am a flippin' prophet, bro. Look, I am sorry, J-Man, but you gotta learn. You gotta learn. And see, this trade is not going to be good, because it's my move. I have some open lines here, and here, and here, and here, and here, here, and here. And I'm just gonna win some material. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. That doesn't actually hold a threat because my bishop can actually move in this position. So I can actually just take this rook, and the knight, and the pawn. Okay, castles. I'm gonna play e5. This is not free because the knight would actually explode as well. And my opponent blunders because of this. Oh, I play against Belting Waffle. Okay. Okay, this is actually the best move. I know they're gonna play Queen f6. Or f6, actually. Were they a Queen f6 player? I think they were. Oh, they were an f6, okay. This is one of the moves. f5. I think it was this. Yeah, because knight b5 was queen h4, queen c4. Okay, I'm actually gonna have to play serious. Because... this game... There's actually a knight sacrifice on e4 in this position, which is very funny. I actually don't think it's a move. Wait, what? Okay. Because if I go... Because if I preemptively take this, there's 94 takes... Wait, but I'm still up. Wait, I'm confused. f4 there, castles... Even just rook f1. I don't think it works. Yeah, what about this? Materials equal. But I don't know. This is at the very least a draw. I know that much. For now. And this pawn would create like this sort of majority over here. That's why he's not taking it. Let's go back. If f4, I have bishop f3 if he takes. Okay, let's go a4. He's probably going to take that. He plays f4 right there. It's probably with the king h8, yeah. Did I blunder? What? That's playable? What? Because I know this was winning, for sure, 100%. do that. Okay, I'm expecting this. And I'm going to play bishop d2. After rook c2, I'm just going to castle. What does my opponent actually have here? Seemingly nothing. Rick Hogan. Oh, I played against this guy yesterday. Yeah, I think I remember them saying this whole thing. Ew. That can't be a good move. No, like, I gotta take an ice too, actually. It's probably kind of bad. No, but this was not the type of game I had with this person yesterday. But yesterday, though, would have gotten into a potentially winning game and instead blundered a bishop on that 4. I had a 3 on d3, and I would have just taken like this. Right here, whatever. As I played. This guy, I don't know what he's doing. I think I need to push. This is now a threat. He has to stop that. He did not. But why are you still playing? Keep fading. Okay, they went for a attack. And it's very easy to defend against these types of things because it's literally forced moves. There's no traps or anything like that with these attacks. It's just you either lose by check in 4 moves or something, or you win because your opponent doesn't know actually anything about time. This is an idea, even if he doesn't go through. He did. Expected this now. Yeah, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's back and push. Something that I was never meant to be careful with. I am just threatening this. And when you put that forward for some reason, the other side of the board, like what you gotta focus on is getting that rook to defend that threat, but you're not. Can you do it that way? Okay, what's wrong with this? Because I'm throwing bishop a3. And you see, once you castle, I guess there's bishop b1, that's the idea. That's so funny. They had a perfect game. They literally had this entire file that is just made. Right? And if I play like H5, for example, this, and this. So it literally completely wins the game. But sometimes in atomic chess, you can just go for a last-ditch effort. This final effort against low-rated players. Because like nervous probably, like they're beating a high-rated player, and they just don't see the most basic stuff. This just wins the game. I saw this when I played this move. But psychologically, it's the best move because it blocks the file and it stops the immediate imminent threat right over here. But they play king b2, and after getting out of the way, after this, there's this, and after this, I am still going to be up a pawn, and it's not going to be easy for my opponent. They're still probably going to lose.